cool, or working on events, right? So it's you have to hit some qualifications. All right. But the reason Kyle, guys, doesn't necessarily need his approach in front of him, just like Tom Brady doesn't necessarily need like the playbook right in front of him, is because he puts in hours and hours and hours into making sure he knows what he's doing. Like I mentioned earlier, the marketplace rewards preparation. Some of you guys, and I'm going to talk to you like an adult because you guys are adults. All right. Oh, John, I've been here for a week. I don't need the phone approach. Yes, you do. Right? Can I call you at 4 a.m. in the morning? Right? And like, let's say a millionaire calls you at 4 a.m. in the morning, and you're like, what? Yeah, I sell Cutco, and I would love to do a presentation. Like, and you don't know your script just like that, right? Kyle and Francisco both have been here for a decade, guys. Right? That is hours and hours, habits, consistency, repetition to be able to get to where they are, right? Which is why they're able to do the things that they are able to do. All right. So, but I love that fortune is in the follow up. Cool, guys. Just because you call someone twice, like a week ago, doesn't mean you can't ever call them again. That's not a dead lead, right? Cool. So be very diligent in that. And I love that when Kyle said like, and Francisco does a phenomenal job of this, but like understanding guys, like if you're not making phone calls, you're not making money, right? Sometimes when I was a newer rep, I was like, man, like I'm really excited for this one customer, Nettie. Yes, they're gonna buy a signature set. Whoa! And then like I would go sell something to them. I was like, yes, work week is over. I'm like, I'm at 30%. I just made like $600, right? Well, like I don't know. I feel like that's a very collective mindset, not a creative mindset. It's like, hey, what if I took that demo that I worked hard to get and launched myself into another demo just like that, right? And then what if I did that again? Kyle's a marathon runner, right? He understands consistency. He understands putting in the work, right? And building momentum, right? So as you go into this push, guys, I mean, Francisco and Kyle, myself, Kathy, Claudia, we've had multiple reps with multiple 10, 15, 20. Francisco's had $100,000 push. I want you guys to understand, the person you're about to learn from has sold $100,000 in less than 3 weeks. And he's made $50,000 in less than 3 weeks. You think he made a phone call or two? Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Cool. And so it's just building that momentum. But he doesn't start the day of the push. He starts a week prior. Kyle starts a week prior, right? Because they understand the momentum. So like every single day, guys, you guys are getting up, making these 15, 20 phone calls. It's going to pay off, right? Y'all are probably going to make about, I love how Cody says this. You're probably going to make about 150 to 200 phone calls in the next 2 weeks, at least. Well, phone call 145, Zach, might suck. Pardon my language. It just might not be fun. But Aubriana, phone call, 84. Oh my gosh. That customer needed to hear your voice in that moment. And in my opinion, that's what, the Vector Opportunity is all about. Yes, we sell the world's best product. We also get to show up the right way for other people and give them that premier shopping experience. And I don't know anyone who gives a better shopping experience than Mr. Francisco Herrera. And so Francisco and Kyle, we need them on the phones here in the next 10 minutes. But guys, Francisco over $1.7 million in sales. Are we 1.8? What do we have, Fran?
1.8.
$1.8 million in sales. I love him, so I feel like I can say this. He's the biggest nerd I know. Loves math, loves science, loves physics, loves science, and all that stuff. So, like,
it's just the fact that this thing is 12.
He is so smart, guys, and he will just be, I don't know, it's just so cool to see his passions.
And I don't have to
outside of the business. And Fran has been here, guys, again for over 10 years. Multiple scholarship winner. Ran a branch office. Try to put a trim around a 5K. I'm just kidding. I love you. That's an inside joke, guys. But he did try to put a trim.
And I try to put it on payments. It's true.
It's so funny. Anyway, here we go, Mr. Francisco Herrera, everybody.
Hey guys. Well, thank you so much, Kyle. I'm probably gonna go ahead and say a couple things that hopefully don't overlap too much, but I will say the 5 things that I remember early on that impacted me the most. Did you, well, I'll just go ahead and say them, and then you can also share some thoughts to me on this, Kyle. The phone approach, memorizing it, whether it's the one in the manual, whether it's a new approach that Kathy has given you. Kyle, you have your phone approach memorized, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel you have your objections memorized too?
Yes.
Right. And it's something we can always work on. But I will say early on in my career, I memorized the heck out of them. And if I ever wanted to go ahead and pump myself up for phone calls, if I was ever doubtful or scared or worried about something, I would always just repeat my phone approach to me right before I start making calls, smile, sound super confident, and walk through it as if I'm scheduling the best appointment. I do that a few times. I'm pumped. My confidence is up. I'm excited. I'm going to crush this phone time, right? That's what I do to go ahead and get myself really riled up. If my friends are on the phones, if I'm alone, and I just need some like motivational power there. And also during pushes, and really with anything, it's having a really, really hardcore start. Sometimes it's 10 a.m., sometimes it's 9 a.m., sometimes it's 8 a.m. But I make sure that no matter what, we start by a certain time and that we hit it. Sometimes if I start 5 minutes earlier, that also fires me up to go ahead and get the ball rolling, just because I know I beat my own startup time, my own start phone call time or phone time. And it's great. Like the more wins I can give myself mentally, those check boxes add up and I'm like, I'm gonna have the best phone time of my life. And if I'm ever feeling like my referrals are drying up or I can't make calls for whatever, even after I'm almost at $2 million in sales, I had a rough time making calls. I called my mentor and he laughed at me. He's like, you sold almost $2 million. Why are you like worried? And then I'm like, you're right. And then I get back into calls. I made like 50 calls and then I scheduled 3 appointments. And then I was like, why am I being such a baby about all this? So this is why mentors and managers are important. If you are ever in a slump, just give them a call. They will pump the heck out of you, give you more energy. And sometimes whenever I'm just low on energy, I'll pretentiously call my mentor as if something is wrong just to get his like intense, heavy load of energy to be like, yo, don't worry, you got this. You can make it happen. You're the best. I'm a huge words of affirmation person. It's important to know who the type of person you are and where you get your energy from. And that's all it takes for me. Just tell me I'm great. I'll kill it. And I
You're
believe those to be
great.
the biggest things. John, are you there?
Oh yeah, I just said you're great.
Oh, I
Or
appreciate
like the
it.
GR8, like yeah, yeah.
But I mean, those would be the biggest things for real. Like having an approach memorized, having your objections memorized early on in my career. I made sure I prioritize that above all. Same thing with referrals, same thing with closing. And I remember that when I ran my first branch, I actually had some reps who were calling me, who were struggling with phone calls. And I did something I'd never done before. And I was like, you know what? And I did this just to totally show off to them. Give me your referrals. And two of my reps gave me the referrals. And I used the phone script in their manual. I had my objections memorized. And I called them for him saying, hey, I'm here working on a project to win a scholarship with so-and-so. And then I continued the approach like normal. And I scheduled demos with my reps, for my reps in that moment. And then I just dropped the referral book in front of them and their phone script. And I'm like, get to calls. And they had no excuses after that. And then they just continued scheduling appointments. So it really is just a mindset of literally not letting anything stop you, separating emotions, just going through the script, going through your objections, making sure you have them memorized as soon as possible. If not, just read them 1,000 times. Or if you're not going to memorize them, then just freaking make 1,000 calls. After call 1,000, you're going to have memorized. I remember I didn't go to like, I was at like a 40,000 in sales before I stopped, or 50,000, I think, before I finally did my first demo without my manual. And my mentor laughed at me simply because he's like, dude, you haven't memorized. I'm like, no, I don't. And he's like, I have to cancel this appointment. I have to go back home. I left my manual at home. But he's like, you got it memorized. I'm like, okay, I got this. I go into the demo. I do my whole, and at that point, I had only learned up to the homemaker. I do my whole demo. And I had sold a homemaker. Proudest day of my life. Well, one of my proudest days of my life when I realized I did have it memorized. I don't know, I probably had it memorized for like $20,000 in sales, just didn't realize it. But that's how much I believed in the manual. And I still go back to it every once in a while to reminisce and be like, oh, I should probably cut the leather more often. That's literally still in the manual to this day. Anyway, yeah. So without pushing time too much further, John, I think me and Kyle crushed it together here. Thank you, Kyle, for stepping in. I appreciate it. And Kyle has always done really great work in our business together. So I always make calls with this guy too. So it's a blast.
Heck yes. Let's give up for Mr. Francisco, Mr. Kyle. Thank you, gents. I do have one question. If you have a question, put it in the chat box real quick. Cool? And we can just do like a very brief Q&A. So Francisco and Kyle, like as you go into this push, I mean, for I think 90% of the people on this call, this is their first like sales competition. right? I mean, they had their fast start, right? Some of them are in their fast start. Riley just finished up a 10K fast start. And so, Riley, we're just going to be talking about you like every single day. So just enjoy it, right? One of the perks of having a 10K fast start. But like, Fran, Kyle, what are things that you guys do to like get the most out of a push, right? Because guys, like they've been here a while. It's almost kind of like, well, oh man, another sales competition, right? Like, but they just have an extra gear and they know how to turn it on, right? So, Fran, Kyle, what do y'all do to really kind of lock in? Whether it's like eating the right foods, making phone calls to other people. What do you guys do to maximize your sales competitions?
You want to go first, Kyle?
No, you can take it.
Ooh, I stumped him.
So it's just because I thought of you as soon as you mentioned nutrition, Kyle. So nutrition is so important. One, I have gone to the hospital because of pushing too hard. The adrenaline is real. I didn't drink enough water and didn't eat enough food. 2 weeks pushing, I didn't feel it. The adrenaline settled down. And then I noticed I had a swollen neck and I had to get hospitalized. Crazy. And I finished that push strong and I had to miss the conference afterwards because of that. So now what I do, that was years ago. I always make sure I have water and food, whether it's pre-made sandwiches in the morning. I always have them in my car. My assistant will have them packed up in my cooler. Now that I'm at a point where I have an assistant, I always have food, snacks, nonstop. So I'm not eating junk. I'm eating, it's the healthiest I am usually any time of the year. Nonstop, great food. Two, I make sure that I focus on having the first 48 hours ahead of me scheduled priority over everything else. When I call somebody and it's Monday, I don't say, hey, Thursday or Friday, this time or that time, unless that's all I have booked and that's all I have available. I'm always offering the first times to be within the next 48 hours, preferably the next 24 hours. So I'm always focused on having the next 2 days booked no matter what. And leave your Sundays open at least 12 to 9 or 12 to 7 or all day for all day call days. So that way you don't run out of times to make calls when you're really busy doing appointments. So that way you always have a chance to refill the schedule, which you should already be making calls nonstop throughout the day. And then two, don't give up. Do not give up no matter what. When I sold my first $100,000 in a push, I will never forget. It was the worst start of my life. And mind you, I had done multiple pushes to do $100,000 and I sold 30, I sold 50, I sold 50. Oh my gosh. Annoying. And then when I broke through 100 grand, I had started a week before. Oh no, I had screwed up all kinds of stuff. I remember my marketing, I had done everything went wrong. And the finale here is day one of push starts. I have 0 appointments. I'm like, there's no way. It's to my first appointment at 10 a.m., no shows. I think I was late by honestly, 5-10 minutes. Something just happened. Everything went wrong. And they're like, hey, we're going to have to reschedule or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, why? It was a great money client. I have purposely scheduled this in the push. The finale, I told my assistant, hey, let's just park in the shade over there. And I would make calls. At that point, from 10-15 a.m. to 9 p.m., I made over 200 calls, maybe closer to 300. I didn't count. I didn't give a crud. I didn't care at all. I just wanted to schedule appointments. By the end of day one, I had scheduled literally the most appointments in my life in a single day. I scheduled over 20 appointments. And I was like, that is my no matter what minimum goal to have at this push. No matter what, I have to have 20 appointments ahead of me at all times. If I get below that number, I freak out. I will reschedule a iffy demo or appointment if I have to, just to give me the extra few hours to get myself back over 20, no matter what. And boom, I got over 20. I went on the day two, my best appointments. I sold 4K, 5K, 4K, 5K, 6K. I had one day where a guy bought 9K and it just went like wildfire. And I got to $103,000 on the last day of the push. Actually, on the drive to the conference, I was at $97,000. I was like, oh my gosh, we got 3 hours before the push countdown. We're driving to Austin, Texas. And I'm like, babe, she was driving at the time. I need you to take the wheel. She took the wheel. I start making phone calls. I start calling all my customers that have bought from me during the push and final pro note at the end of every appointment. When I walk out, I say, hey, Charlie and Sandy, thank you so much, guys, for buying from me. I've only got X amount to go. If I'm only one knife or something crazy small to break the record on the last day, to reach my goal on the last day, can I call you real quick to see if there's anything else you want to get, please? And they're like, fine, just call me. And I'm like, all right, sweet, thanks so much. And then I write down their name. And I keep in my list of callbacks purposely. I've been doing push for years. I write down their name. And those were the people that I called on my drive to SC2. And I sold the last $6,000. I sold the flatware chest, galley set for a gift for the kids, whatever it took. And I got to 103,000. I got up on stage, and it was one of my proudest moments to finally say a report over 100,000. Mind you, that was the same pride I felt when I sold when I had my first 3K push, because years ago, 10 years ago, because the difference between a 3K push and a 100K push is a number, but the efforts that I put to have my first 3K push were intensely, insanely, mentally the same. So that's all that mattered. At the end of the day, when I did my first 3K push, what was called SC3 or Conference for Champions at the time, I was super proud because I didn't give up and I made it till the very end, no matter what. So just get up on time, make calls. Obviously, I screwed up this morning, sorry guys. But get up on time, make your calls no matter what, and finish all the way through. I think that would be it. That's the mentality of my pushes. John.
Oh, no, I love that, guys. I hope you wrote that down. If you have a customer, if you had someone in your fast start, right, who told you, I know all you guys have this, we'll buy later. We'll think about it. I got to talk to my spouse, right? Yes, show them buy now bonus, right? But again, if they just don't buy today, guys, like I had a list in my recommendation book, all right, full of all the customers. I've got my scholarship binder of all my customers who I want you to call back at the end of every push, just like Francisco said, right? And I was like, hey, I'm like $3,000 away. You want to write me a check for three? I'm just kidding, right? But I know you really wanted that petite carver and that hearty slicer. Is there any way? Again, just like Francisco said, is there any way, right? We can just put that on a 3Pay. I'll throw in a free ice cream scooper, right? And I'll get one step closer to my goal. What's the worst that happens? They already told you no once, guys. Like you can handle another no. It's not the end of the world, right? But what's the best thing that happens, right? Coming from abundance, words of affirmation, like Francisco said. They say yes. Right? That's what Devin did. Devin sold like $450 to his old coach, who originally in the demo said no. Called him back at the end of his fast. I was like, hey, like I'm like a couple $100 away. Like, again, do you think we can make this happen? He made it happen. Right? Cool. People like being part of a big story.
Oh,
right?
John.
Sometimes, like for me anyway, my customers, Kevin, they just wanted to see how committed I was.
Yeah.
Right? They were like, okay, like, are you just about to sale? Or are you actually gonna follow up with me? Right? Or are you just about like in the moment? Or are you like gonna talk about are you gonna be serious, Matt, throughout the entire competition about your goals? And when you call them back, guys, you're in your head, you're like, oh my gosh, John, I just asked them for knives like yesterday. Guys, their life gets really busy. They probably forgot. Not that you did the demo, Caesar, but they probably forgot that like your like, your goals and stuff like that. So like reminding them, it's the second time they're hearing it, Christina. It's like, oh yeah, let's get going. You guys ever heard a song once and then you're like, okay, that was a good song, and then you hear it again, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's a banger. Let's go. Right? So thank you, Francis. Golly, you are so good. Both of you guys are so good. Guys, I'm so happy that I get to work with people lots more than I am. Because man, do they make my job so much easier. Yeah, I just get to be the funny guy. Right? Well, try to
John,
be.
actually, can I say one last thing and then I'll let it go?
No, I'm just kidding. Yes, of course. Yeah. I know.
Well, it's just very important. It's very important. I need you all to remember this. My first 10K push, also a very proud moment in my life. I will never forget. I was having a hard time, and it was the last couple of days. I think it was a 10-day push. There was 2 days, maybe 3, maybe 2 days left. My goal was my first 10K, and I was probably at like 4K. And my mentor asked me one simple question: are you having fun? And I said, no. Have fun. Make this next appointment the best one. forget about everything and just enjoy these last 2 days with all your customers. And I sold 10K. I remember my first appointment right after that conversation. I went in there. I was so loose. I was having a blast. I enjoyed the whole drop down. I was like, you should get that. It's like after drop down, drop down, drop down. Oh, I have the perfect one for you. I don't know why I haven't shown you this one. It's so amazing. You see how that set fits over there? Here's the gourmet. And then I showed it all to him. He had a blast. He was laughing. And that was the first appointment after that conversation. That was 1K. And I was like, I believe I'm going to get the 10K somehow between now and the end. And I did. So just make sure to have fun. I'm so serious. It's such a key thing. That's it.
Beautiful. Kyle, do you want to add anything about just prepping for, how you get in the mindset for push? Or we do need to make phone calls here, so I don't want to take up their time, but anything that you just want to add
Yeah.
real quick?
Just really quick. I mean, just to piggyback on what Francisco said. Can't stress that enough. Don't give up until the very last second, until the very end. It's not over until you say it's over in your head. Okay. So, that's how I hit our rep trip to Spain and Portugal this last year.
Right.
Yes, that was insane.
Yeah, I sold $6,000 on Christmas Day to my past clients. So one of my clients was actually at the hospital holding her brand new born grandbaby in the hospital, and I sold her a homemaker set over the phone. So I don't want to hear anything about people don't want to buy, people aren't willing to help you out, or anything like that.
That's
it's
right.
possible. It is. You just have to believe it, and you have to be willing to make it happen. And the only way that you can make it happen is by taking action. And the best action to take is to be on the phone. That's the only way you're going to sell stuff, is by talking to people and talking to customers. And more people you talk to, the more people you're going to sell to. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, that's a final note. Call all your friends and family, because the energy that me and Kyle are showing is the energy everybody should have. When you go in with that kind of energy, doesn't matter what level you're at, people want to help. And just like Kyle had a phenomenal start, me and Kyle have our phenomenal finishes, miracle finishes, but it's because we believed. It's because we kept calling, and we reached out to every living soul we possibly could. It didn't matter if we were afraid or scared. We're like, screw it, call it 2 times. We get there, and it's like the same thing whenever I also had to win my Rolex a few years ago. I had $36,000 left in the last week, and on the last day I had 16, and I made it happen. And that was working through Christmas Day, and I had never done appointments on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I will say that was probably the most amount of family appointments I did on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. I called friends, family, and some past customers. And on Christmas Day, while we were all partying, the family, my uncles were all drunk and having a good time, which is hilarious. My older brother brings in one of my uncles and starts talking to him about his knife set. And he brings out the shears, cuts the penny for my uncle, and he's like, and everybody calls me Pancho, come over here, show him Cutco. And I'm like, are you sure? This is so awkward and uncomfortable. Okay. I do a quick demo, I cut with a trimmer, I cut with whatever. And he ended up buying a $3,500 ultimate set from me. And then years later, he told me, when I went to his house later on, he's like, I woke up the next day seeing a $3,500 bill on my credit card. I was so ready to cancel it. But then my wife said, he's winning a scholarship. And I was like, you know what? If it's for school, it's fine. I'll keep it. Point of the matter is, crazy things like that happen as long as you believe and you just keep going till the very last second, like me and Kyle do. Things are crazy. It's so fun.
I love hearing y'all's stories. It's so cool. It is so cool. Very inspiring. It really, really is. And of course, we love Christmas. But thank you guys. Big one more round of applause, guys, for Kyle and Francisco. Both of these gentlemen will be at SC1 on the 25th. So when we say that your network, who you surround yourself with, right, who you take advice from, and who you decide to be a leader for, right, they're gonna be there. Right, and they're much taller, better looking than John. So it's nice to have individuals like that in the office. So thank you guys. We love y'all too. Look at these amazing individuals. But we gotta hop on the phones here, guys. Book up our demos. Please make sure that before you hop off, that you text your manager how many demos you have today. Okay, cool. Don't just be like, see ya. Make sure you guys communicate that with us. All right.